Baby, oh boy, baby boy, you have me, I need you. You come and you say you want me. I do everything you told me. You say you need me. Want a wife, me a point, baby. It's me got your mommy and daddy of my baby. They looks happy, but are you be my own machine? Cheetah was the honey. He used to be my baby. Nana, he get happy. Cheetah was the honey. He used to be my baby. Nana, he get happy.
I like this, can't get way sweet and goofy. You the only one that knows my mood swings, and I just want you lying down in my bed now. Oh my mel, echamo fan jealous ya no. I finna eating your friend now, and now she finna really on my rent now. Hey mel, my mel, echamo fan jealous ya no. I finna eating your friend now, and now she finna really on my rent now. Hey mel. Suffocating you with love so it can read it choke. You choke, give me your body till I'm overdose. Your love, jello all the time, truck is always overload. They want no Justin Bieber business, but I'm overdose.
Cheetah was the honey. He used to be my baby. Nana, he get happy. Cheetah was the honey. He used to be my baby. Nana, he get happy. Big problems, huge problems. Cheetah is a bad man, like your uncle bastard. His lover, his roster, this thing better. I've heard her.
Oh my mel, bitch I'm a fan jealous, ya know. I finna eating your friend now, and now she finna really on my rent now. Hey mel, my mel, bitch I'm a fan jealous, ya know. I finna eating your friend now, and now she finna really on my rent now. Hey mel.
Oh do do do, you hurt me. Oh do do do, oh do do do, yeah. Oh do do do, oh do do do, you hurt me. Oh do do do, oh do do do, yeah. Cheetah was the honey. He used to be my baby. Nana, he get happy. Cheetah was the honey. He used to be my baby. Nana, he get happy.
It's Melon Boy, yeah. Yeah, rock fully, papi. One fully, papi. I say shake fully, papi. Rock fully, papi.
Baby, eat on my money and jump in my reserve. Make up on flick la Bugatti you deserve. Scatter les boss for les beyond repair. Les pas tout mal mais my heart a chicleo. So get to me, sucker, man don't be a till I bluffer. You say you know say I that fan get all about and freak call you. But how you really weak? Be me like me get it freaky. Man we feeling your pieces. Every day they do them freaky. Rock for big papa, hey hey. Wine for big papa, nana. Shaku shaku for big papa, yeah yeah yeah. Shake for big papa. That for big papa, guara guara for big papa, yeah yeah yeah. Get ya pay, baby you for play. See the way you slay, la le kana tuma can kill. Ja bene bene, bembe bembe bembe. Ja bene bene, bembe bembe bembe. Don't worry about the money, we had all the money, la minga le money, la le money can make you sunny, shake, break, break, shake. My we feeling the head rocket, shake it.
Man, them a like big beto.
Rock for Big Papa, hey hey. Wine for Big Papa, nana. Shaku shaku for Big Papa, yeah yeah yeah. Shake for Big Papa, that for Big Papa. Guara guara for Big Papa, yeah yeah yeah. Make it clap. You got me singing like hallelujah, yeah. Don't stop. I want amen, amen, yeah, hallelujah. Sha, sha, shaku. I won't be your fool. I let my go lolo, go lolo. My you just do man do. She want me be spending on it, oh. Get down on it, oh. One up on it, oh. She know I got it, toto. Shake, break. Man, we feeling your head. Rock it, oh. Shake it, oh. Man, my life be great, oh. Rock for Big Papa, hey hey. Wine for Big Papa, nana. Shaku shaku for Big Papa, yeah yeah yeah. Shake for Big Papa, that for Big Papa. Guara guara for Big Papa, yeah yeah yeah.
Look at me, man, don't be a killer. Just say you know say, bang all the bottom. Rock for Big Papa, wine for Big Papa, nana. Shaku shaku for Big Papa, yeah yeah yeah. Shake for Big Papa, that for Big Papa. Guara guara for Big Papa, yeah yeah yeah.
Pepe can change go. Le pape said no one to do it, do. Clipper can rock you. Lepe when you coming true. Y'all can see. All the good God do for me, oh. Papa, your blessing to plant me and I get cut out to oh. You open door, you made a way. Made my enemy call it fair. They wanna wallow down me. Like listen people not saying. Congratulations. Me only used to tell I mean now they telling me okay. Congratulations. They opening corridor for me to pass. When they said the full say congratulations. See how you turn it around for good from the way to farewell. Congratulations. The grace I carried and all your mates they chit and do well. Congratulations. Let all my kids they wanting me for. All of my Kenya give it to God. Les things il a do il a pour la maman. Les papes la zoba. Les poils la don kutuku. Si les things na do. J'ai l'air to say we na don su. Me I go pepe. You turn it around for me. When all of them were looking down on me. Les pas you still a show. Your umpa you slow but sure. Let me hear today, tell me answer. Used to put your level, tell me what's that. Look better than blonde to your dread. Papa, I do as you say. Hey, y'all can see. All the good God do for me, oh. Papa, your blessing to plant me and I get cut out to oh. You open door, you made a way. Made my enemy call it fair. They wanna wallow down me. Like listen people not saying. Me only used to tell I mean now they telling me okay. Congratulations. They opening corridor for me to pass. When they said the full say congratulations. See how you turn it around for good from the way to farewell. Congratulations. The grace I carried and all your mates they chit and do well. Congratulations.
Color.
Pepe can change go. Les papes said no one to do it, do. Clipper can rock you. Lepe when you coming true. Y'all can see. All the good gotta do for me, oh. Papa, your blessing to plant in me, and I get cut out to toe, oh. You opened door, you made a way. Made my enemy call it fair. They wanna wallow down me. Like listen, people not saying. Congratulations. Me only used to tell I mean, they telling me okay. Congratulations. They opening corridor for me to pass. When you said the full say congratulations. See how you turning around for good from the way to farewell. Congratulations. The grace I carried and all your mates, they chit and do well. Congratulations. Let all my kids they wanting me for. All of my Kenya give it to God. Les things il a do il a follow maman. Les papes la zoba. Les poils a don kutuku. Si les things na do. J'ai like to say we na John su. Me I go pepe.
Indeed, the Oman case in the 1 minute 4 is officially 11 minutes past 10 o'clock from my location here in Rwanda. And of course, it's 11 minutes past 8 o'clock in Liberia. Today is Saturday, the 21st date of June 2025. But like I said, welcome to the Heat Hour here this evening on BKS TV. My name is Junior Payne, your regular host, and I hope to be joined subsequently by Afanso Wongbo, the co-host to this show here this evening. Again, it's going to be a wonderful and a good show to all of you who are watching. Please help to share the show for us this evening. It's going to be a beautiful discussion with all of you being involved this evening. As usual, before we start the show, we play some beautiful songs from across the world, Liberia, Nigeria, and other places to get you glued as we dive into our discussion for today. This is the Heat Hour. On the Heat Hour, we say dialogue in our confrontation. We say words in our bullet. On today's edition of the Heat Hour, we have a couple of stories coming up for you. But from the nation's capital, the Police Inspector General of Liberia, Gregory Coleman, has debunked a statement by one of the suspects in the arson attack case on the Capitol building, Mr. Yanti. Upon the arrest of Mr. Yanti, he accused that the government of Liberia has promised to bribe him with the sum of $200,000. But speaking to the press day before yesterday, the Police Inspector General of Liberia, Gregory Coleman, said at no point in time did any of those government officials mentioned by Mr. Yanti contacted him for any other reasons. We're going to bring you details of that story here this evening. The Nima County School Board petitions the Ministry of Education to, portion Nima into 2 education systems with additional 6 education districts. And of course, we're going to bring you more details of that recording here on today's edition of the Heat Hour. Of course, as always, as we play the recording, we will also dive into, more details of this story. One of the residents of Santa Nicholas City, Jermaine Joe, donates a 2 load of sand to the rehabilitation process of the Thomas Self-Flood Sports Stadium in Santa Nicholas. Upon receiving a donation, T. Flaw, who is the president of Nima Quado FC, spoke with the media. We're also going to bring you more details of that story here this evening. But before we go into our stories, we would like to go for this break. And when we come back, we will dive strictly into our discussion for today. As always, today is the weekend. And on the weekend, we got to do something special, something more exciting, because I know a lot of folks are out there enjoying the weekend today. And we got to be here to inform you too, because this is why we are here. And because of you, we are here. So because of us too, you are also there. Let's go for this break. We're going to play you this song from MC Carol. She tagged the song 11. We go for this break. When we come back, we go strictly into our discussion for today.
Strip on heaven, shoot my AK-47. No, you like 10, but me, I 11. Calling you sweet, but the picking at lemon. Say the picking at lemon. What can I 10? I picking at 7. Train 2 beacon, put on kino. Gotta stand tall and moon and penal. Me, I'm a runner. Touch room where we're set together. Quarter my flow, I do with charger. Why do with charger? Quarter my flow, I do with charger. Red, white, and blue. Pledge allegiance to you. Let them catch that cruise. I'm rooting for you. I pull up. They bring sucker, I bring block. I'm a sucker for your love. I'm a sucker. Many how many Gaza. Junior bad, junior shatter. If I go bad, then I chatter. They might want to step moving faster. Don't be Moe, don't be Saka. New Joe won't learn from the teacher. Know you want case, I know you want blaze. Can't let you go, Bella Casa. Straight from heaven. She do my AK-47. Know you like 10, but me, I 11. Calling you sweet, but the picking at lemon. Say the picking at lemon. What can I 10? I picking at 7. Train 2 beacon, put on kino. Gotta stand tall, the moon and penal. Me, I'm a runner. Touch room where we're set together. Quarter my flow, I do with charger. Why do with charger? Quarter my flow, I do with charger. I know you fake, I know you hit up. Bring some politics and power. God before, God behind. When I get loud, but they can call. Now all they can call. Came by like a bullshitter. Back in style, back in the trap. #1 in the shit, go look it up. Roller, smoker, uncle. Free all my men ain't sorted. Beat you on rapid. No more sticking stack it. Pray for love, but you still wanna carry it. You know what I'm
Oh yeah, you praying for love, but you still on the carry. No more sticking stack here this evening. Of course, so like I say again, welcome to the show. If you just turning in listening to the Heat Hour here on BKS TV. On the Heat Hour, we say dialogue in our confrontation. We say words in our bullet. I am your host this evening, Junior Payne. I'm going to be here for the next 1 hour, 30 minutes, 2 hours until we get done with all of our stories here this evening. Again, I'd like to say good evening to all of you watching the show. Melvin Wakman, you watching the show here this evening. I'd like to say welcome to the show too as well. And I'd like to say a shout out there to the manager of this TV station, Manager Takpo. Good evening to you and welcome to the show too as well. And I'd like to say a big shout out to our CEO, Mr. Alvin Seka Sr. Welcome to the show here too this evening. Again, it's a beautiful, beautiful day, a beautiful evening, a beautiful weekend from my end. I don't know how it is from your end, but I like to say, make the most out of all of the weekends you have. You don't know what is going to happen in the next 5 minutes. In our intro, one of the residents of Sanicola City, Nima County, donates 2 loads of sand to the rehabilitation project that is ongoing at the Thomas Self-Law Sports Stadium in Sanicola. Upon receiving a donation, president of the Nima Quadros Football Club, T. Flaw, spoke with the media, and here is what he said.
Our donation of 2 loads of don't throw low of sand from Mr. Jimmy Joe, the CEO of Manager Entertainment. So how do you feel about this donation to your work?
This is amazing. This is amazing, and let me dispute the fact that this is not my work. This is the work of the Nima people. You understand, especially the people of Sanicola. This is a huge project that is being undertaken by the Jungle Water family along with the LFA. And to see people supporting the project, it means a lot. Because if you see 2 heavy hands somewhere, you understand, you still come and do the little that you can. It means that truly you have the county at heart. So this is a very big one. Big thanks to my big brother. With all the little that he may have, he still see it necessary. And I also want to encourage people to continue to partake in the dollar rally that is going on. It's only for the benefit of all of us. It's only to beautify this place as much as possible and make it as useful as possible so that we can make maximum use of this facility.
How do you think this donation should be used?
It's being used for the project. Nothing else. What it was intended for is what it will be used for.
People see the Jungle Water Group of Investment as an institution that has much money. But how do you feel people from down the land contributing to your endeavor or endeavor that is being championed by your institution?
I mean, like you said, people see. You understand? I mean, it doesn't have to be the reality. Jungle Water will do our best. You understand? We are not one of those who just have it like that to waste or whatever the case may be. We try to maximize the use of every little that we have, and we try to put it to very important uses. So I think he's following similar trend. He knows how important, when this project is finished, how important it will be to the city. So that's why he's making sure that this process can be fast-tracked by contributing a little that he have. That's why we are even encouraging a dollar rally process, because you might overlook $1, but $1 from 1,000 person, that's $1,000, and that can make a huge difference.
Yeah, Mr. Thomas, people want to know how many months or year the project is going for.
It's a collaboration with the LFA. We are just supporting them, but they are spearheading the process. And I don't have all of the information, but I know within due time, a timeline relating to this project will be given soon.
Jimmy Joe is just an individual who has donated. What can you say to the rest of Nigerians?
That's why I'm encouraging everybody to participate in the dollar rally. Whether you are from Ganta, you are from Seklipier, Kample, Lapie, it shouldn't matter. At the end of the day, this is Nima County. This is something that will bring development, it will bring growth in our economy, our local economy. Because, for example, if Liberia have WAFU and other tournaments that we are hosting, why does it always have to be Monserrado? You understand? So when Nima have the Gompa facility and we have the Sanigole facility, we already have hotels to host thousands of people. So with this development and the Ganta development, it will pull growth to the local economy.
People have the expectation that this project will be completed before the commencement of the 2025-2026 National County Sports Meet. Will we meet that expectation?
I mean, as a person, I'm also hopeful for that. But I mean, all words of officiality will come from the official contractor of this project. But as a citizen, I'm hopeful that by then, I mean, especially as co-chair as well, I would love for us to be able to use the facility at the time of the county meet.
Finally, what can you tell people who are following you and listening to you?
Contribute, because even the time, like we said, there's a private entity working with the Liberian Football Federation. So the timeline of this project will relate to how best we can provide all necessity for the project to continue. So contribute, play your part to beautify this place as much as possible. And it has a lot to do with the speediness of the project as well. Do your best. It's a dollar rally. That's 200 Liberian dollars. Even I haven't paid my money, but today I will pay my money at least to give my own contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who we're talking with?
Thomas Floyd Jr.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
So that was the voice of Thomas Floyd Jr. He goes by the name T. Floyd. After receiving a kind gesture from the CEO of Man J Entertainment Center in Sanigole, donating 2 loads of sand to buttress the effort of the Liberia Football Association in collaboration with the Jungle Water Company. That's a Jungle Water Company in Nima County. He spoke with the press. According to him, he's encouraging all citizens to participate in the dollar campaign that is ongoing, the dollar rally that is ongoing, to also buttress the effort of the LFA and the company. So I think it's a great idea. It's a great thing that we are having more development coming to Nima. We are having more development going in our county. Recently, LFA also took on the project in Ganta to rehabilitate the Ganta Sports Stadium there around the PSN community, right adjacent the JDA PSN High School. So if you go there now, the project is ongoing. And we also have another project too that is ongoing in Sanigole. And this other project is in collaboration with the Jungle Water Group of Investment and that of the Liberia Football Association, LFA. So you can contribute to the project. All of us have to contribute to the project, and we have to try our possible best. According to myself, Lord Jr., he said he's hopeful, like every one of us, so that the project can be completed before the 2024-2025 County Sports Meet. And that's our expectation. We hope and pray that the project comes to a completion so that our boys that are going to play, they will be able to play on a standardized sport page. And that's it. That's all I have to say about that. But I think it's a very good gesture by the individual who donated. That very kind of him to donate 2 loads of sand to the Jungle Water or the Jungle Group of Investment there in Sanigole. So it's a very good gesture, and I appreciate that too as well. I want to add my voice to myself, Lord Jr., to also appreciate him and to call on the entire county and the entire country to participate in the dollar rally that is ongoing. But he didn't tell us how and what are the process for the dollar rally. But again, that was it from him. From the nation's capital, this was a few days ago. Montserrat County Senator Abraham Darius Dillon says he will never back down from engaging the current. Let me try to get this for you very quick. I want to get this here as we try to get our 1 and 2 cents on that too as well. So about 2 days ago, the Montserrat County Senator Abraham Darius Dillon, he says he will not back down from pushing the Labor Minister of Liberia to ensure jobs meant for qualified Liberians are not given to foreigners through work permits. And Abraham Darius Dillon said he questioned Labor Minister Cooper Crow during the confirmation in February 2024 about the issues and promised to review the matter after 6 months. The Montserrat County Senator says Minister Crow is now taming the Senate review politically motivated and an attack on Nima County. Dillon dismissed those claims as said and charged, instigating that his stance is rooted in his constitutional oversight responsibility, not tribal or political sentiment. I mean, this is a good move by Senator Abraham Darius Dillon. But again, we need to look at so many different factors when we are discussing this. If you are telling the Labor Minister of Liberia not to give work permit to foreigner for work that is meant for Liberian, I don't know which type of work you're talking about. I don't know which type of work that is specifically for Liberian and which type of work that is not for Liberian. But what I do believe is that we Liberians too, we are a lot out there. A lot of Liberians have traveled out of Liberia to seek greener pasture. So if we are imposing such, or we are giving such a mandate, we should also think of our fellow citizens that are outside of Liberia. You don't know how many Liberians are in the US. You don't know how many Liberians are in Canada. You don't know how many Liberians are in other parts of the world. I don't know how you will feel as a state person, as a senator, that one day you go on the TV and then you watch that those countries that your citizens are, there are other lawmakers there that are saying jobs shouldn't be given to a certain group of people because they are not citizens of that country. I believe there is a right approach that we could take in handling this issue. And maybe the senator himself could look into those directions. There are petty jobs that are meant for Liberians. There are other jobs too that are meant for Liberians. But in as much as there are people on the soil of Liberia, they deserve to work. They deserve to work. So we cannot say because all of Liberians do not have jobs, it means when a foreigner is in Liberia, that foreigner shouldn't have a job, which of course, we have Liberians outside of Liberia that are working in other countries. So, Honorable Senator, you got to look into that direction too as well. You got to think of that. And maybe when you are pushing the labor minister, you should also think of those other people, those other Liberians that are outside of Liberia and working, and think if there is a senator in those countries that they are residing in or those countries that they are working in, and that senator is imposing such a decision, is giving such a mandate, how you going to feel as a senator? So I want you to put it in your own shoes. It's a very good advocacy, a very good one. But the fact of the matter there is that we should also look at the other means. Those people that are in Liberia that are working, they also have family that they got to take care of. And I think that's my 1 cent on that. Earlier on, we said the Nima County School Board petitioned the Ministry of Education to portion Nima into two education system. So there was Mr. Califord spoke with the media yesterday. He spoke with folks from Voice of Gompa. And while speaking to them, this is what he said. We're going to play this, and we will also have a 1 or 2 cents on that. So after we've played this, we will go to play you a very sensational, a very important recording here. The trial of former president of Liberia, Dr. Charles Gange Taylor, when he was tried by the Special Court of Sierra Leone, which he was found guilty of several different counts, and he was imprisoned for 50 years. Why are we playing that recording? Because we believe that history meant to teach us, and we're going to play you that recording right after this one with the Nima County School Board petition. Here we go.
Depending on your location at this time around the world, because we know about time difference around different countries, different regions of the world. My name is Rele Guambay, and I'm here in Degeme community in Gompa City, Nimba County. I come from Voice of Gompa, and this is the Gompa Communications Network. We'll be in conversation with a veteran Liberian educator, Mr. Clifford Kona Sr. Mr. Clifford Kona served in the Ministry of Education for long years in this country, and they are presenting a petition to the Ministry of Education calling for the partition of Nimba County into 2 school systems, meaning we should have lower Nimba education system, upper Nimba education system. Additionally, they are calling for 6 education districts. So currently we have 13 education districts, and the thing that the population Nimba has is too huge. But he will be talking more about that. So Dad, good evening, sir.
Thank you, really. Thank you. You are most welcome.
Thank you, sir. A long time no see. How are you? How's the family?
Well, thank God. We're doing good.
That's great. You want to greet your people?
Well, I want to greet all of my listeners, all of those who view this particular interview. I want to say you are most welcome.
Thank you, sir. Just before we go to the meat of the discussion, when did you become teacher? When you started teaching in the classroom, how long did you serve in the sector? People who don't really know you, what can you say to them?
Well, I am a teacher that started in 1974.
Wow.
I graduated from the Zozo Rural Teacher Training Institute in 1973. And I served at the Widow Stockman Elementary and Junior High School in Penn for 6 years before going to college. Yeah. And after college, I was assigned to Nigeria Pearson. We were there in the 80s. We served Pearson. Later, we created the afternoon and night session. Today, they call Pearson Extension. Was a nice school. Was a nice session of Pearson, just for us to move light somewhere around to that phone, because the pay and salary were not increased. There was little and one, so we were able to, moonlight all around here. And today, the Pearson extension is not existing. We brought Pearson extension at the time. Mr. Kesey was our principal.
David Kesey,
yeah, David Kesey was our principal.
Okay,
right.
That's
so I served for long.
Wow.
Yeah. Then later, after the war, we came back. Why in the refugee camp? Why in Zonwe, Ivory Coast? I served as principal of the refugee youth high school.
So it means that you have so much passion for this profession, the teaching profession.
No, sure.
Irrespective of the low salary, the challenges there, you've been there until today. I can say you are in your 7 days.
Yeah, somewhere around.
Please be seated. The Special Court for Sierra Leone is sitting in an open session in the case of the prosecutor versus Charles Ganke Taylor. Justice Richard Lassick presiding.
Good morning. We'll take appearances first, please.
Appearing this morning for the prosecution, the prosecutor, Stephen Rapp, Mohammed A. Bangura, Christopher Santora, Maya Dimitrova, and myself, Brenda J. Hollis.
Yes, Mr. Griffiths.
Good morning, Mr. President, Your Honor's counsel opposite. For the defense today, myself, Courtney Griffiths, assisted by my learned friends, Mr. Maurice Anya, Mr. Terry Munyard, and Councillor Superwood, also our case manager, Salah Moylanen, and also we're joined by the acting principal defender, Ms. Claire Carlton Hansels.
Yes, Mr. Griffiths, I believe you're going into evidence today.
Mr. President, yes. But I understood that we were awaiting a decision regarding an application I made yesterday.
Yes, we are. I was going to announce that later in the day, but...
Very well. Very well. So I call Mr. Taylor, the accused.
Please repeat after me. I solemnly declare
I solemnly declare
that I will speak the truth,
that I will speak the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
I'm sure I don't have to remind you, Mr. Taylor, because you've been observing these proceedings now for many months. But it's vitally important that you keep your voice up and that you speak slowly and clearly. Can you give the court your full name, please?
My name is Dr. Charles Ganke Taylor, the 21st President of the Republic of Liberia.
Now, Mr. Taylor, as you are aware, you are charged on an indictment containing 11 counts, which alleges that you are everything from a terrorist to a rapist. What do you say about that?
It is quite incredible that such descriptions of me would come about. Very, very, very unfortunate that the prosecution, because of disinformation, misinformation, lies, rumors, would associate me with such titles or descriptions. I am none of those, have never been, and will never be, whether they think so or not. I am a father of 14 children, grandchildren, with love for humanity, have fought all my life to do what I thought was right in the interest of justice and fair play. I resent that characterization of me. It is false, it is malicious, and I stop there.
Now help us. Why did you launch an invasion of Liberia in December 1989?
Liberia has a very long and what some may call a checkered history. The MPFL that launched the revolution that I led was the second NPFL, not the first. Following years of turmoil that I would say goes back to as far as 1955 or before, and maybe at some point in time we will deal with what 1955 meant to Liberians. We had problems. The government of one of my predecessors, Samuel Kanyan Doe, had led a very violent campaign against citizens of the country, and I have no direct quarrels with him because maybe he may have had his own reasons. But citizens of Nimba were killed. The general that led the uprising during that particular time, General Thomas Kwirongpa, was captured, killed in Monrovia, and cannibalized by then members of the Armed Forces of Liberia. Elections were held. They were stolen by Doe, and there was a reign of terror. And so we went in to bring about some order and restore democracy in Liberia.
Now help us, Mr. Taylor. During the course of the NPFL's campaign in Liberia, were atrocities committed?
I will be the first to admit that bad things did happen in Liberia during the operations of the MPFL for several reasons. Let's not forget, we are dealing with a period of tribal problems. Doe had killed Nimbadians, Guios, and Manons, and Crowns were involved in the operations, assisted by some other groups. There was bad blood, the need for revenge on the part of certain groups. All of these things were going on. So when we launched this revolution to bring about stability in the country, yes, there were times when some individuals, because of their own selfish motives, engaged in certain actions. But what is very clear is that when we found out that atrocities have been committed, we acted. There are so many cases that have come in evidence before this court where the prosecution have said that they called the names of several generals that were executed. Yes, we did. They were tried before military tribunals using the military code of justice that officers on this side of the court know very well, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And if individuals and citizens were murdered in cold blood, they were taken before military tribunal. They had a fair day in court, and if they were found guilty, and the punishment was whatever I, as the leader of the MPFL, approved, there was just no indiscriminate killing of people. But these terrible things happened, but we took action as we found out. Now, I don't claim that we knew everything that happened, but whatever happened that we got to find out, we acted upon.
Now, you call it a revolution, Mr. Taylor. Why?
Change. Liberia had a history of one party. The True Whig Party in Liberia was all of our party. Whether you wanted to be a member of the party or not, you were just a true Whigger. That Whig is that old Southern style politics that the quote-unquote Americo-Liberian brought as the free slaves returned from the United States. And they had what they call the Whigs. And so the True Whig Party in Liberia was the only party. And that continued throughout the Talbot administration. And when Doe came in, he continued. So the revolution was to bring about a full change, to bring about democracy, multi-party democracy, may I say, and the rule of law, which we no longer knew after the failed attempt of General Kuwampa. Things got really out of hand.
Was that revolution informed by any particular ideology?
You know, when we get into ideology, I've tried not to become so ideologically attached to some of these different dogmas that you hear. But it was informed by one thing, a desire for democracy and the rule of law.
Now, moving on, Mr. Taylor, did you knowingly assist Fode Sanko and the RUF to invade Sierra Leone?
I, Charles Ganke Taylor, never, ever, at any time, knowingly assist Fode Sanko in the invasion of Sierra Leone.
Did you plan such an invasion with him?
I never, ever planned any invasion of that friendly country with Fode Sanko.
Did you have prior knowledge that such an invasion would take place?
Now, I may have to probably just seek some clarification. I was aware from Libya that a Sierra Leonean group, the Sierra Leonean Pan-African Revolutionary Movement, harbored the intent to carry on such operations in Sierra Leone at the time in Libya. And so that's what I say, I need some clarification. But as to the Fode Sanko operation, no.
Did you ever provide the RUF with military assistance?
I did not provide the RUF with any military assistance to invade Sierra Leone. However, between the periods of August 1991 throughout May of 1992, there was cooperation between the RUF and the NPFL following the invasion of Liberia by ULIMO that had been armed, trained, and sent in by the Momo government. Now, I provided for the protection of the borders of Liberia, as was my duty and responsibility at the time. I provided small amounts of arms and ammunition, more ammunition than arms, to that particular group. And now let me be specific. Before this court, these judges have seen a letter produced by the prosecution of Fode Sanko writing me a letter complaining about small amounts of arms or ammunition. Yes, and I think he had a reason to complain because, in fact, I was struggling myself and probably his expectations were too high. But I did. Between that period in question, and it ended in May of 1992, after several of my men that were providing security on that border and in fact, jointly fighting a common enemy, happening to be your limo, we withdrew our men and seized all, and I mean all, cooperation with the RUF.
Did you thereafter provide any military assistance to the RUF?
None whatsoever.
Were you thereafter aware of atrocities being committed in Sierra Leone?
Well, I put it this way. There's no one on this planet that would not have heard through international broadcasts or probably discussions about what was going on in Sierra Leone. I would be the first to say, yes, we did hear of certain actions that were going on in Sierra Leone that were a little strange to us because those things did not occur in Liberia.
What things?
Well, we heard that people were getting killed, women were getting raped, and different things, and we couldn't understand it. I could not understand it because these are things that we did not tolerate in Liberia. And so for me, it was unacceptable. But then again, we had no way of verifying whether these were true because we did not have anyone in there to tell us. Because these days when you see reports on television, I'm seeing on television this morning that I ordered people to cannibalize people in Sierra Leone. And when you begin to look at the different slants in the news, well, you hear them, you cannot verify them, and it was not my duty to verify them, but I would say we did hear about those things in Sierra Leone.
And had you ordered the RUF or any other group in Sierra Leone to carry out such actions?
That would be virtually impossible because the actions that we took in Liberia, and those actions have been spelled out before this court. They've talked about, the prosecution has talked about several generals that were executed. Well, they were executed for murder under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. They were, in fact, they were executed for rape. And so if we were taking these stringent measures in Liberia, even if one were to assume for the sake of argument that as the prosecution states that I had command and control of Sierra Leone, which is not the truth, realizing the fact that we were dealing stringently with rape and murder and harassment in Liberia, why would anyone believe or bring themselves so low to believe that what I was not permitting in Liberia, even if I had control in Sierra Leone, I would permit in Sierra Leone? It was inhumane, it was wrong. I would have never, even if during the period between August 1991 and May of 1992, if I, during that period, while we had corporations for my security in Liberia, and I may say selfishly for our security, because in fact we used the presence of the RUF for that. But if that was occurring during that period, I would have done everything to stop it. And in fact, probably the cooperation, and let me just move the probable, the cooperation between the RUF and the MPF, again, during that period, would have probably ended in a shorter period of time. I would have never, ever permitted such to continue if I had anything to do with it.
Specifically, Mr. Taylor, did you ever order the trademark atrocity of the Sierra Leonean conflict, amputations?
it's impossible for that to have ever been ordered by me. Let's look at the Liberian Civil War. There's been no evidence before these judges, regardless of all of the witnesses brought here, the little ones like the Mazas of this world, the sick puppies like the Maza of this world. You understand me? That would say that this was ever, a situation that could have happened. No, ever.
To your knowledge, did amputations take place in Liberia?
Never. That's the point I'm making. Amputations throughout the history of Liberia and in all of the evidence here, even though the prosecution has tried to drag the Liberian civil crisis in here through the back door, when the indictment is as of 1996, there's not one case before this court of amputations in Liberia. None whatsoever. It's not a phenomenon of Liberia. It is wrong. It never happened in Liberia. I would have never, ever accepted that in Liberia, and we would have never encouraged that in Sierra Leone.
Mr. Taylor, did you plan or order or otherwise participate in the invasion of Freetown on the 6th of January 1999?
Let's look at the period in question, 1999 January. I'm a member of the Committee of Five, trying to...
Explain what that is, please.
The Committee of Five, upon my election as President of Liberia, ECOWAS had been dealing with the Sierra Leonean problem, then under the Committee of Four. Upon being elected, jokingly, my colleagues in ECOWAS said to me, well, listen, we have a problem continuing in Sierra Leone, and you are an old rebel, so you know how to deal with rebels, so why don't you, we're going to put you on this committee to see how much help you can be to us, because you know how to deal with rebels. I laughed and said, well, I'm no longer a rebel, so, but I will do whatever I can. They said, well, don't forget, you share borders with Sierra Leone, so we want to bring you on this committee. And so I was placed on the Committee of Five to help to bring peace to Sierra Leone.
I'm sorry you haven't answered my question, Mr. Taylor. So let me ask you again. Did you plan or order or in any other way participate in the invasion of Freetown on the 6th of January 1999?
Okay, I answered that question. I stopped there because your second question was, what was the Committee of Five? Well, working on that committee, my job, I was put on the front line to help to bring peace to Sierra Leone. There were discussions that started, so my entire period was spent between trying to fix war-torn Liberia that had gone through a terrible 7-year civil war, while at the same time helping my colleagues to bring peace to Sierra Leone. Now, within this period of time, one would have to be almost a Superman to be performing, trying to rebuild his country, his economy that is torn, and having to deal with being a part of planning and ordering some invasion of Freetown on the 6th of January 1999. In fact, upon hearing of that invasion at that particular time, I was outraged because we had been doing everything as of August 1998 in consultation with our colleagues in ECOWAS. We had commenced putting pressure on the RUF to come to the peace table. And so what I had done, I had closed the border as of August 1998 with Sierra Leone as a way of trying to put pressure on the RUF to, first of all, stop making ceasefire agreements and breaking it on the other hand. So it is impossible. In fact, it is just incredible that on the one hand, I'm trying to work with Liberia with all of my own difficulties, working with my colleagues, trying to bring peace, and at the same time, getting involved in trying to order, plan, or execute some action in Sierra Leone on January 6th. Impossible. It could not have happened. I had no knowledge of it and was outraged, as were all of my colleagues in ECOWAS, upon hearing of this terrible thing that happened. We could not understand it.
Help us. When and how did you hear about the Freetown invasion?
My national security advisor, on the morning of January 6th, as is done in Liberia almost every morning, one of the first individuals that I meet as a national security advisor that will come in with news reports and the so-called intelligence overnight. And this was revealed to me by the national security advisor, unlike what some of the witnesses have come here and said about me being sitting before a television 24/7. That's virtually impossible. The work of a person is not sitting before television. That's what other people are there to do. My national security advisor advised me of it as of the morning of January 6th.
And who was your national security advisor?
John T. Richardson.
And help us. What was in fact going on in Liberia in January 1999?
In January of 1999, we were going through the, I was dealing with the United Nations in trying to get them to help Liberia in capacity building. There were discussions about movement of refugees and trying to get them returned, Liberian refugees in other parts of West Africa, West African refugees. I was very, very busy with government.
Now help us with this. What was your major preoccupation after you were elected president in 1997?
We had a 7-year civil war. The country was torn apart. Everything was destroyed. The roads were bad. In fact, some of the roads that I hear claims of in this court that we were supposed to be transporting arms and ammunition on, I don't know if these roads even existed. We had total decay. We had 7 years of civil war, lives torn apart. My principal preoccupation was, how do we begin to rebuild the war-torn country? How do we begin to bring families back together, mend fence and reconcile? I was engaged with trying to get international assistance to build the country. After the years of the former President Doe, where things had gone far down the drain, the economy was virtually wrecked. Add 7 years to that, Liberia had really gone back, I would say, a quarter of a century. We were, some argued, operating in the 1920s. And I was preoccupied with trying to make friends, encourage countries to come in, look at investments and other things. For example, let's look at one principal area that we were preoccupied with. One of the big issues being raised, as though people don't understand better, but I guess this is the way propaganda goes. Let's look at the timber industry. All of the equipment in the country had been destroyed during the war, had been picked apart, parts taken off. the time required to revitalize, for example, the timber industry took us about 2.5 years between trying to encourage people to return, giving them incentives to come back to the country. We were just preoccupied with Liberia, not talking about having added the whole Sierra Leone part of it, with my colleagues encouraging me. But in short, I was preoccupied with trying to get Liberia back to life. This was my preoccupation.
And how soon after you were elected president did you become a member of the Committee of Five?
Oh, almost immediately.
And why did you become a member?
Well, I felt that after my colleagues jokingly asked me to, in fact, forced me to join, I thought that I could be of some help, because I realized that unless peace returned to Sierra Leone, there was no way that Liberia could make it. Absolutely no way. There were still some 260,000 Sierra Leonean refugees in Liberia during the war, while there were also some maybe 50, 60,000 Liberians in Sierra Leone and Guinea. Now, when you look at that, you can see that it was extraordinarily important that everything was done to bring peace to Sierra Leone, because number one, yes, there were all these accusations. There are always accusations, and I'm sure these learned judges understand with that when presidents accuse presidents, sometimes they're trying to what they call draw smoke. For example, so many times I accused Tijen Kaba. He accused me. It didn't mean that it was factual. Okay, so you have this situation where you have all these movements, you have the refugees you're trying to bring in. So it was the situation where I felt that we were so intertwined that the international community, looking at these accusations, were denying me aid. We could not get aid. We could not get assistance. So they tied the life of Sierra Leone, and if I may say that figuratively speaking, they tied the life of Sierra Leone to the life of Liberia. So for me, it became a duty and a responsibility to help in whatever way that I could to help end this conflict in Sierra Leone, because unless it ended, Liberia would never move. That's why I got involved.
Did you want to remain president of Liberia?
Did I want to remain?
Yes.
Well, of course, I felt I could make a difference. Yes, I wanted to remain president of Liberia because I felt that I could make a difference.
Now, in your capacity as a member of the Committee of Five, what was your main objective?
The first thing that they did was to put me on the front line. I would say really put me on the front line, and because we had a border, and then said to me, we really want you to get personally involved in whatever way you can and keep us informed through consultations to help to bring peace to Sierra Leone. So my objective at a particular time was to do just that, get involved, help them work, arm twist here and there wherever we could to bring about this peace that not just Sierra Leoneans needed, but Liberians needed.
Mr. Taylor, in your capacity as a member of the Committee of Five, did you have personal contact with Sam Bokary?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Being on the front line and being in charge of the Sierra Leonean issue as my colleagues, had asked me to, and by the way, let me just add for the judges, this is contained in resolutions of ECOWAS that will be presented to this court. Communiques on the approval of ECOWAS stating exactly what I'm saying, asking me to get personally involved on the front line in helping to resolve the issue in Sierra Leone.
Now, in your capacity as a member of the Committee of Five,
Mr. Griffiths, I don't think your witness answered that question. Why did he have personal contact? He veered off.
Yeah, okay. Well, my colleagues had asked me to have this personal contact because of my experience, they had said before, as quote-unquote the old rebel. So we had to maintain this contact because I was placed with that responsibility to make sure that we did. And so we established this contact and began the process of what you may want to call being really a mediator at the time. And so we made contact with Sam Bokari because at this particular time, Forty Sankor, remember, is in prison. But let me just add, that contact was not just solely my prerogative. As I was in contact with Sam Bokari, so were the other members of that committee. They could call him. In fact, I could speak to him. I kept them briefed, but they also could call him at any time they chose.
what year did you first make contact with Sam Bokari?
Our first real contact with Sam Bokari was in late 1997 to early 1998. I can't recall the exact month, but it was very close around this time, following the second heads of state meeting, which occurred in September. So I will put it to about the last quarter in 97 to the beginning of 98, when we, I ordered the general at the Lofa side of the border to contact Mr. Bokari and the RUF people to invite him to Liberia for discussions and to inform him what my role was and in whose behalf I was acting, which is ECOWAS.
What's the name of the general in Lofa?
Sadly, so there is also a mosquito in Liberia. The name is General Christopher Vamos, a.k.a. Mosquito, who knew Sam Bokari during the period that the RUF and the MPFL cooperated.
What was that surname again, please?
I beg your pardon?
What was the surname?
A.k.a. Mosquito. But the last
surname, Vermo?
No, Vambos. Vambos. I think it's V-A-M-B-O-S, Vamos. Christopher Vamos.
Help us a little further in this respect, Mr. Taylor. Did you equally have contact with Issa Sisse?
No. Issa Sisse at that particular time, no. Sam Bokari was the leader of the RUF, and we dealt with Sam Bokari.
Did you at any later stage have contact with Issa Sisse?
Yes.
How did that come about?
My first contact with Issa Sisse was in 2000, around about, I would say, May, June of 2000 was my first contact. This was the period where Forty Sankor had been arrested for the second time in the infamous situation in Freetown. Sam Bokari is now in Liberia, and ECOWAS. We were all very, very, very disturbed by the issues in Sierra Leone at the time of the unfortunate arrest of United Nations peacekeepers. And so we, through hundreds of calls, and it looks so simple now where the other side have tried to claim that we had control, but it is very important that we understand that the arrest of those UN peacekeepers were not a very small issue at the time. It was virtually a global issue. Speaking figuratively, I can say there were phone calls coming into me from everyone, their mothers and their grandmothers, about these UN peacekeepers that had been caught in Sierra Leone. And so I got in contact with him after being asked to do everything that I could to help in their release. This was the first main contact with Issa Sisse.
And help us, at the time you made contact with him, was Issa Sisse formally the head of the RUF?
No, he had not formally become the head of the RUF. However, he was the most senior general in the RUF at the time.
And so how did it come about that he was the person you spoke to in the absence of Foday Sanko?
Well, Sam Boukari is not there, who took over after Foday Sanko, and our questions were asked, and we knew, don't forget, at the time in 1998 that we established the contact with Sam Boukari as leader of the RUF, we provided for the RUF a guest house in Monrovia, not a safe house, a guest house, not a safe house, a house that was provided for them that served as an office, as a lodging place, and the place where every diplomat accredited near the capital of Monrovia went, saw them, consulted, and more specifically, ECOWAS ambassadors. Okay, so we knew because the RUF had personnel at that property. And so through communications, we got to know that the main person that was operating in Sierra Leone after the arrest of Foday Sanko was Issa Sisse. So we then sought to contact him.
Was he happy to adopt the role of leader?
Well, I tell you, Issa was one, he's a very careful person. I say this because in answer to your question, subsequent to this meeting, when I convened a heads of state meeting in Monrovia, later on in July of 2000, to try, along with my colleagues, several presidents of West Africa, convened a meeting to deal with the Sierra Leone problem. We then posed the issue of leadership to Issa Sisse. He was a little reluctant and did not really accept unless he told us he got the permission from Foday Sanko, where both Obasanjo and Alpha Konare, Obasanjo, the former president of Nigeria, and Alpha Konare, the former president of Mali, of ECOWAS, that left that meeting to go to Freetown to meet Tijen Kaba to get Foday Sanko's approval. So if I may say, Your Honor, I think he was one of those reluctant leaders at the time.
Did you, Charles Taylor, appoint him as leader of the RUF?
No, I never did. Never could have. If anyone did, I would say ECOWAS did, because at that meeting in 2000, I just mentioned that I convened a heads of state meeting in Monrovia. At that meeting were the president of the Gambia, President Yahya A.J.J. Jammeh.
Can you help us with some spellings, please?
I think it's on the record. I wouldn't like to mislead the court. I think it's on the record, please. I think these are names. I would just ask for some help from the court. Present at that meeting also was the chairman of ECOWAS, President Alpha Konare. He attended that meeting. Also present at that meeting is the late president of Togo, Yatsegme Iyadema. Also present at that meeting was the former president of Nigeria, Obasanjo, was present. I convened this meeting to discuss with them this problem that they had placed in my lap about Sierra Leone. And the question came up, what do we do? Foday Sanko is imprisoned. The July 1999 peace accord is in trouble. There's no one to talk to. What do we do? So we met, and at that meeting, all of the heads of state present agreed that the probable thing to do was to ask Issa Sese to take over the leadership. Issa at that meeting said, well, I have to go and contact my people back behind me in Sierra Leone, but even more particularly, I need the approval of the leader of the RUF. And so Presidents Obasanjo and Konare flew to Freetown. T. Jennings Kaba brought Foday Sanko to them. The message was delivered to Sanko. He approved it. Obasanjo and Konare left, went to their respective countries. Issa Sese returned to his post. 2 weeks later, Obasanjo and Alpha Konare flew back to Nigeria, and at the Rabas International Airport, Issa Sese was appointed leader of the RUF.
Mr. Taylor, did you ever deal in diamonds with the RUF in return for arms?
Never. There is not one human who believes in the truth can say that I, Charles Ganke Taylor, dealt with the RUF or anyone in the RUF taking diamonds for arms or taking diamonds for anything. None.
I'll ask you very directly, Mr. Taylor. Based on the evidence called by the prosecution, and I'm speaking louder because I'm told that my voice was very faint, were you regularly receiving mayonnaise jars full of diamonds from the RUF?
Never. Ever did I receive, whether it is mayonnaise or coffee or whatever jar, never receive any diamonds from the RUF. It's a lie. It's a diabolical lie. Never.
Why did you step down as president in 2003?
Following the burning of the arms in 1999, Liberia came under attack by a group calling itself LERD. LERD happened to have been armed and supported through Guinea by the United States government. I do not say this in speculation. My government, confronted the United States government, accusing them of this allegation. They never denied it. In fact, the ambassador accredited of the United States near our capital confirmed that arms and ammunition had been given to, quote unquote, the Guinean armed forces, and whatever they did with it, they could not account for it. Well, diplomatically, we know what that means. It simply means that, look, this is covert, and we'll do it. So they did. Now, when we
Take your time, Mr. Taylor.
During the war, as Lloyd approached Monrovia, it was a very sad thing that happened. Mortar shells launched by Lloyd, shrapnel from those shells were taken to the U.S. Embassy. They confirmed that the shrapnel were shrapnel from United States mortars. Now, these shells had dropped on an area that is considered a diplomatic compound of the United States Embassy in Monrovia called Greystone, where hundreds of Liberians had assembled for rescue. Several mortar shells fell on that compound, and there were scores of people killed. There were limbs thrown all over the place. The citizens on that compound took the bodies and took them at the gates of the U.S. Embassy and said to them, well, here is what you have done to our people. The United States government, strangely, and maybe for the first time, and I stand corrected, did not condemn the shelling of those civilians in Monrovia. During the war, citizens had retreated to Monrovia. So I would say there were maybe about 1 million people that had gathered in different parts of the city. And I must admit, we've always known America to be, under some circumstances, humane. There are other cases where they're not. But for the United States government not to condemn these people on their diplomatic compound convinced me that the United States, in their regime change policy, where George Bush had called upon me to leave, he said Taylor must leave. The United States had sent from Iraq at that time 5,000 U.S. Marines. The prosecution knows this. I think they should bring the information. They have a right to, they know this. 5,000 Marines were within eyesight of the presidency. I could stand on my back porch and look at this huge American flotilla right outside of the executive mansion door. Their failure to condemn these atrocities convinced me that they will go to any length and probably kill the whole country to get rid of Charles Taylor. I then decided, in the interest of peace and the love for my people, that I will leave. That's why I resigned, and I did not, as has been said, run away. I followed the constitutional process as enshrined in the Constitution of Liberia. The legislature was informed that as of 11 August, midday, I would turn over the affairs of office to my vice president. And so when he sat here and lied before these judges that it was Moses Z. Blah, that it just happened, he didn't even know he lied. The legislature was written a letter. He is the president of the Senate. He was present in the Senate meeting. He presided over the Senate meeting when the letter was read 2 weeks before. Programs were prepared. Heads of states were invited. South Africa, Thabo Mbeki, was there. We had the president of Mozambique, Chissano, present. The president of Ghana, Kufuor, was present. These things don't just happen overnight. And then, boom, spur of a moment, somebody shows up.
But that's what Mr. Moses Blah told these judges.
Well, he lied to these judges. Diabolically, he lied. And we will prove it here. There are videos and films of Moses Blah, who is, I know Moses very well. He read a prepared speech. Now, one would have to be crazy to believe that he sat down during the program and wrote a prepared speech. Nonsense. He lied to these judges in so many other ways that we'll get into later.
And help us. Was there an agreement setting out the terms for your resignation?
Yes.
What was it?
I was attending a conference for peace in Accra.
When was that?
That was around, I stand corrected, and that's about June, I want to believe, May, June of 2003, when this infamous indictment was unveiled. And I said to my colleagues that, look, the situation in Liberia is getting very, very tenuous right now, and I've just had enough of this. And I explained this very incident that I just explained to the judges about the shell that had fallen and how people were getting killed, and shells were falling all over the city. And I told them that I wanted to, that I would step down, and they had agreed. Now, as we walked out of the meeting, all of the heads of state to go to the conference hall, the news came out that the indictment had been, what you call it in legal terms, had been opened or whatever, unveiled. We returned to the hall because they knew that problems were about to come. We go back to the hall and they say, oh my God, what is this? I said, well, gentlemen, we do have a new problem. And he said to me, well, look, this is unacceptable. We are here for peace.
Who said that?
All of my colleagues, Thabo Mbeki, Kufuor, Obasanjo, Kaba, Tijeni was in that meeting.
And what did he say?
Well, he said, well, I can tell you, if I recall Tijani's own behavior, I want to believe Tijani knew. He did not react in any way. He kept quiet. But my colleague said, but this is unacceptable. We cannot do this. And I said, well, Mr. Taylor, our brother, what would you do? I said, well, I have to think about it. And they said, well, look, it is important that you carry out what you said you would do here with us. And if you do, we are going to move immediately to the United Nations and tell the United Nations that this is unacceptable and that this indictment should be squashed. They sat in that meeting and instructed...
Excuse me, Mr. Taylor, yes. We have a message from the stenographer that you're talking a little too quickly for it to be recorded. So if you could just slow down a little bit.
I'll do that. At that meeting, it was decided that if I carried out what I had said I would do, everything would be done for this indictment to be squashed. They then instructed the president of Ghana.
Who was that?
John Kufuor, to invite the British and American ambassadors, because these were the two countries that had been pursuing this war against me of regime change. And we will get into that at some other point. So the British and American ambassadors were called and were told by both the chairman of the African Union.
Who was that?
President Thabo Mbeki at the time, and the chairman of ECOWAS, John Kufuor, that it was decided by the African Union and ECOWAS that if President Taylor stepped down, that this indictment would be squashed, and that this was a decision, and that ECOWAS and the African Union would pursue this. My understanding subsequent to that, it was pursued when Obasanjo told me during the period of the negotiations for my going to Nigeria that in fact he has spoken to all prominent 5 members of the United Nations, and they had agreed that he famously, in fact in the statement said, I will not be harassed. That tape exists, where they had told him that they would not harass him upon my move to Nigeria. And that is what I understood at the time.
Mr. Griffiths, I'm sorry to interrupt. You did ask about 2 pages before the question, was there an agreement setting out the terms of your resignation?
That's
what was it? I'm not sure that there's a straight answer to that.
Well, Your
I
Honor,
could appreciate a
yes, Your
answer.
Honor, you are right. When we're dealing at the, just as maybe the judges and the lawyers do, by agreement, there was nothing written. From a diplomatic standpoint, when heads of state meet and talk to other world leaders and they say, well, this is the case, I consider that an agreement. There was nothing written, but ECOWAS and the African Union had been told through Obasanjo that everything would be done to squash this. This is what I mean. There was no written document, but for me it was sufficient, and I think for even my colleagues it was sufficient.
And did you subsequently step down?
Yes, I did. On August 11, as I promised, I stepped down and left the country.
And thereafter, Mr. Taylor, the public suggestion is that you subsequently tried to escape from Nigeria.
Well, you know, when you are dealing with the level of power play that I saw during that particular period is amazing. In the first instance, I was not imprisoned in Nigeria, so I could not flee. I was a free man in Nigeria. I went to where I wanted to go. President Obasanjo and I met maybe once or twice every 3 months. And let me say here, Olusegun Obasanjo, the former president of Nigeria, who I must admit, I would still want to consider a friend if he chooses to come before the world and tell the truth. Obasanjo knew that I was traveling, where I was going to, and when. And let me just explain further. Obasanjo had invited me at the airport in Abuja. He informed me that he was on his way to the United States to meet with George Bush. But throughout the 3 years in Nigeria, Obasanjo had constantly reminded me that Nigeria was under tremendous pressure to quote-unquote turn me over, and he had said he could not do that. He came under so much pressure that even there are documentary reports of even former Secretary of State Colin Powell even coming to Obasanjo's rescue saying, well, look, don't hold this man responsible. It was a deal. That's how Taylor got over there.
Who said that?
A former Secretary of State Colin Powell, in defense of Obasanjo's actions. He met with me and told me that he was under tremendous pressure on many occasions, but that he was on his way to the United States, and he knew that he would come under additional pressure, but he would not yield to such pressures. And in fact, Obasanjo said to me that Kofi Annan had called him and warned him that he should expect pressure in Washington, D.C. And I said to him that I wanted to travel. Now, I'm sorry that we do not have a map here. I think for the judges to see this.
Maybe at a later stage.
Very good. Calabar, Cross River State, is approximately, I would say, under 50 miles from the Cameroonian border. Where I was stopped, in an area of Nigeria, the northern part of Nigeria is about 1,000 miles from Calabar. Now, in an area called Maiduguri. I was en route. Obasanjo had said to me that he was on his way to the States. and that I could go to where I wanted to go, and when he got back, he would, inform me, and I could return. I was en route. Now, the news reports that came out said that Mr. Taylor was trying to escape to Cameroon. Now, for God's sake, anyone wanting to escape, if in fact he was being sought or he was imprisoned, neither of those applied to me. Why would I drive 1,000 miles from Calabar to the border with Chad and leave Cameroon 50 miles away? Now, one would have to be crazy to believe that. Obasanjo knew I was going to see an old friend, Idris Deby, in Chad. Idris and I had